Now under here, all this is exactly the same kind of a deal. This is how it would have looked, pretty much, except for air conditioning. I see you have air conditioning.
Yeah.
Which everybody that's already seen the car, that's their comment. Boy, if it doesn't have air conditioning, look how hot it would be.
Right.
And tell me about that setup there. Is that 4 carburetors?
It's 4 carburetors. It's actually 8 carburetors that share a common float and fuel bowl. So each cylinder can be tuned independently.
And I guess each cylinder is tuned independently.
Each cylinder is tuned independently.
What a mess. That's got to be a pain.
And that adds, I've heard different things, it's pretty easy estimate. It adds at least 50 horsepower to anything.
Just being able to screw with each and one individually and get them exactly right.
And then when you have an intake with a common plenum, which means you've got one big fat or 2 big fat carburetors like on this car sitting on the intake manifold, you're still sharing a common plenum under the carburetors.
Right.
So when valves are open, when intake valves are open and exhaust valves are open, you still get backflow into the motor. In fact, if you've heard a motor run with a big cam, what people call a big cam, high lift, long duration, so forth, a lot of that erratic idle that you get is caused by what that cam lets back up in that common manifold. Okay. Another thing it does is it builds that kind of setup builds a lot of heat into the motor. A motor with a 4-barrel or 2 4-barrels and a common plenum, when the motor's idling, it builds up a lot of heat in the engine. Okay.
Right.
You don't have that inefficiency here. Each one of these openings is open and closed only to itself. Okay. So right off the bat, this motor runs about 50 degrees cooler than this motor. Okay?
Right.
If you were to take this setup off and put a 4-barrel in this motor, we'll start the car in a minute, it would have a real erratic, aggressive idle tone to it because it's got a pretty good sized cam in it.
Right.
But when you take that common plenum intake off and put individual runner intake on, it takes your cam and makes it go away.
Right.
The sound of it anyway. So it really makes the car idle. A lot of times, people will say, well, that car sounds like it's a European car.
Right.
It sounds like a Ferrari.
Right.
Okay? Well, what makes Ferrari and Maseratis and all of them sound the way they do is carburetors like this. You'll notice when we start this car, it doesn't sound like
It's a very efficient way of doing it.
Yeah.
And it's the right way. Pain in the butt, but our right way. Huh. What's this? This looks like a thinner can.
Yeah. Yeah. The old,
That's an overflow.
Back in the day, they didn't have many hot rod parts, so a lot of their overflow cans and things like that they made in the shop, and so that's basically what that is. That's like a Marvel mystery oil can or a thinner can.
Thinner can.
Yeah.
Growing up around the body shop is what it reminds me of. Look at that. Is that transmission cooler and a radiator?
Oil cooler.
Oil cooler.
Oil cooler and a radiator.
It's got a horn.
It's got a horn. Had to. Rules said you had to have a horn. Rules said you have to have signals, parking lights, high beam, low beam, driving lights, so it's got all that. Car's completely street legal.
And there's those autographs we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Very cool. Most people had signed a dash. You had them signed underneath there. I love how you painted silver. I guess that was the way it was too, though.
Well, I just wanted it to look aluminum.
Right.
It's made out of aluminum. So if you'll notice, I had them. It's kind of a flat. There's no gloss here. It's hard to talk a guy that paints cars into making something dull instead of shiny.
Right. I gotcha. Now, what about air filtration? There's no air filtration.
There is none. That's inefficient.
Yeah. Well, I understand that. Gets in the way.
Yeah.
But
if you'll notice the air box is built tight up against.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So it keeps,
and then you got this indentation right here too.
Well, this just sort of clear the distributor.
Distributor cap.
But all your air comes in that hole right there from the windshield.
And there's no kind of filter, vent, nothing.
No, I'm going to put a
screen.
Metal screen there.
Yeah.
I just haven't done that. It's going to be a metal screen like this.
What is that?
That's just some expanded metal.
No, this box.
Oh, the box.
Yeah, it's the brakes. I see you got.
Well, okay. This is the foot box. Okay. Of course, this is where your feet are going to be when you're driving the car.
Oh, I see.
This is, you know, master cylinders for the clutch and the front and rear brakes.
Right.
And then the gas pedals right here.
Gotcha.
And then these were just like on the original car. You see all these scoops and stuff. This car was was kind of an evolution. When the first car they built, it didn't have any of these scoops on it, so they took it out and it ran great.
Right.
But it was hotter. It was too hot to drive.
Right.
So they started immediately knocking holes in it to try to get more fresh air to the driver. And a lot of this stuff, that's what these scoops are for. That's what this piece of ductwork, when you close the hood, there's a scoop on top of it.
Yeah, I see that. Sure enough.
They were just trying to get as much. The windows here are all plexiglass.
Right.
You know, they had vent windows here. They were just trying to get the car would get to 140 degrees inside easily.
I would guess.
So they were just trying to get some kind of ventilation into the car. If you'll look back here, they ended up cutting a hole in the spoiler.
Yeah, you know,
drilling holes in the body.
silly
Still in an effort to try to get ventilation. You know,
Silly me thought that was for a third brake light, but
No.
that's the way it was too.
That's more ventilation for the.
Trying to keep the driver cool. He was
trying to
passing
keep
out
the
in
driver
there.
cool. Yes, sir.
Huh.
Bob Bonder told me that he had I forget what race it was. It was somewhere over in Europe, and it was so hot that he had such a lead that he would open the door going down the straightaway
Really?
to try to get more air. He said he had a wooden block that he would put under his leg and against the door so that the door would stay open while he was, and he'd reach down and pull that block and close the door if he was going to pass somebody or
Right.
you know, before he.
Wow.
So he said the cars were just unbearably hot.
Very cool. And then knockoffs are real.
Knockoffs are real.
And what rear end are you running in it?
It's the same rear end. I mean, the original cars ran a Salisbury, what they call the Salisbury rear end, which is what's running the Jaguars. Some people call them a Dana 44. It's a big beefed up, you know, rear end that was popular and easy to get, and that would take the punishment. So that's what this car really, the whole rear end setup is a modified Jaguar rear end.
Cool. Did you do that yourself?
Part of it I did myself, part of it I had done. Butch Capps and Mid-South Gear built the rear end, built the top loader 4-speed, built my motor, and actually helped me with a lot of fabrication on the car.
Well, brother, this is just like one of the coolest cars I've ever seen. Obviously, you see them. I'm a big fan of them too. You know, I'm a big fan of Shelby. I'll be honest with you. I think Shelby's done some very cool things. Proud that he's an American. Obviously, the Shelbys make you proud that you're an American too. But you know, ever since I found out that I can take a ride in this car, folks, I'll be honest with you, I just haven't been able to stop thinking about that. What do you think, Tony? Take it for a spin?
Yeah, you want to start it up here for a second?
I'm gonna get it coming out of the garage.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna get it rolling off the jack, and we'll go from there. Folks, when we come back, we'll be taking a ride. I thought y'all might be interested in seeing underneath this. Of course, we have a lift here, and I don't get much opportunity to shoot them under a lift, but you can see how stout everything is. 2 shocks per wheel. What's this fan for in the back? Transmission?
No, that's where I hid all my, see, I didn't want my air conditioning.
Oh, I got you.
Because it's a race car, okay?
Right.
So my evaporator and my coil and everything, and I run my hoses through the frame back here so you couldn't see any of that.
Right.
So this is all mounted up under the fuel cell.
I got you. And you got a skid plate up underneath there. And these markings on the transmission, I'm guessing that's not just off the top of your head. There's a logical reason.
Markings from that's the way I guess those are the quality control marks.
Right.
As they come out of Ford Motor Company.
Right.
When certain things were done, certain guys put certain colors on them.
I got you. Huh. Very, very cool.
Fuel pumps, filters, back here next to the fuel tank.
Yeah. Huh. Well, and you got disc brakes, but they're like inside.
Inboard disc brakes.
Inboard disc brakes.
The original Cobras, I mean, some of the real early cars had inboard disc brakes.
Right.
The later cars, the coupes, they were really kind of outboard. It's just
That is cool though. How many miles do you think you've put on it since you?
Oh gosh, I haven't got many miles on it. I've put maybe 300 or 400 or 500 miles on it.
Wow. You got brake ducts on it. See, that's what he was telling me too. is that these louvers in the front, the ones on the side go to the brakes,
The ones on the sides go to the brakes.
and the one in the middle goes to the
oil
radiator.
cooler and the radiator.
Comes out through the hood up there.
Comes out through the hood in the top, yeah.
And then you got, you know, fog lights.
And then, of course, the car had the jack bumpers like the roadster cars, these little things right here.
Right.
And this is where they'd roll a big dolly under the car and push it down and lift it
up.
off the road.
Got them in the back too?
Got them in the back also.
So.
The 427 car has it, you see, but they're outside the car.
Right.
On the coupes, they were under the car.
Right.
So.
Well, there you go, folks. I think I have covered this Shelby Daytona from every angle. From riding in it, to under it, to over it, to a man that owns one. I think we got it covered. So, I hope you've enjoyed it. I know I have. This has been the best day I've had in a long time. Being able to come out. I love shooting hot rods, but man, to be able to ride in something like that, can you imagine? Anyways, thanks, y'all.